My screen up just a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about condensed letters. So you can see that I've actually produced a little structure here. And I do this for condensed in this case because it provides some level of structure. This is gray paper, so you can't see the pencil as well. It's definitely helpful for me when I do the work. So basically I drew the space that I want to work in. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a vertical here in a couple places, and these are really just guide marks to remind me what vertical should be, because even if I'm on a book, like getting the right angle on it, I can find it. Sometimes I'll get to the end and my letters are just a little bit tilted and I hadn't intended that. So what I'm going to do first is, this is a 2-line technique as well. So I'm going to start with a single line, just like with all the others. Now I'm going to watch the space between these. So the trick is getting these long verticals. So it's keeping, working slowly. This is a tricky one, the N, because you're working with it. You're trying to do an angle on a really condensed space. And then you have to line this up. Now the beauty of this is we're doing 2-line. We're going to add some thickness to this in this case. So I can cheat a little bit on mistakes that I might make. But you may, in some cases, just want a single line condensed if you want this to be condensed but light. So right, as I'm doing this D, I'm trying to watch the vertical. Same thing with the E. And, again, there's going to be some imperfection, and that's okay, because we're not machines, right? We are people, and I kind of like seeing those imperfections personally. Adds a little bit of charm in my view. So here we're at the condensed. So S is always a challenge. It's not too bad here. So I think I've allowed enough space. I'm actually going to follow the same shape as the C, and then I'll do my turn. And then I'm going to come to where I estimate the downstroke starts, and then come back up again. Back in with an E. Now I have to watch where my stroke here is so I can keep them consistent. If I really wanted to be consistent, I could probably come in here, like if I was doing like a line and I knew that I was going to be running into this, I would actually come in here and draw a line here as some kind of a guide to know where that point is. But in this case, my last letter is a D. So I'm kind of eyeballing the other D and sort of trying to line up sort of the same techniques. So there's our single line word condensed, right? Move that up a little bit. So now we're going to do just like we did for the others and do the second line to make it thicker. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all my vertical strokes at the same time and all the big vertical strokes. I think I'm going to stay on the inside because I want it to feel condensed. So had I decided to do the line on the outside, I would have had problems with letters feeling too close together, and it would actually make them wider. So by choosing the inside helps them even feel more condensed. And that's also the reason why you have to make sure and leave enough room that you can pull off the second line, because otherwise you'll run into plug ups and jam ups inside. So first I'll do all the long strokes. There we go. And now what I'll do is the short strokes on the other side. Now I can do the horizontals. I forgot my C there. Let's come in and do that. Okay, let's finish these. I think I'm going to go underneath on the C stroke. That. A lot of this is practice too. Like I love this letter form, and so I'm constantly doing it. I think that helps me, and it will help you too. So if you like how this looks, the only solution is to keep practicing it, keep trying it. Maybe while you're watching a TV show or something, practice here, listen for a word and practice that word in different formats. I can't forget to do my downstrokes for the ends here. I'm noticing that this end is just slightly wider than that one. That's interesting. Now I'm just going to look through and find all the places where I want to clean things up. Some spots here and there. The top of the C and the bottom of the C should be touched up a little bit. Cap those ends. Maybe this could be squared off some. All right, that's not too bad. So you can see these lines work pretty well. Like, in fact, I don't know if you can see this, but I ended up right on a vertical stroke, and I wasn't too far off. It's a little bit imperfect, but that's okay. So what's really helpful in this, as I said, is practice. And what I might do too is, like, as I look over it, I'm just looking for things that are inconsistent. So one thing I noticed is the C is now inconsistent with the S. See how far down the strokes are. So I can actually come in and extend that a little bit on the top and the bottom. I always sort of try to start in the middle and work my way out. So I've got some control over that. There we go. Looks like the O could be a little wider on the outside. So I'm just looking for any little tweaks. And I guess you got to be careful not to overcook the goose as well, right? You start working it too much, you could end up messing something up that was just fine. So that's a line only you can determine you've crossed. There's a point where you just say it's good enough and move on, especially if you're in a situation. This, I think, is a typeface that you can learn to do fast. I would say, like the 3-line, there is some planning required. So if you're going to use this as a headline, I would almost say leave space and do it at a time when there's less pressure. But as an